All right, let us begin formally with the meeting. Yes, DTM Talha, would you be the acting sergeant at arms?
All right, thank you. Sure. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this fine Sunday morning. Welcome to WordWise Advanced Toastmasters Club. WordWise Toastmasters Club is a Toastmaster club first, but it adds a lot of material on top of what a club does. We celebrate literary excellence, we celebrate creative writing, but more importantly, we try to teach creative writing to our members, and the demonstration of that you will see in today's meeting. Uh, as a matter of courtesy, we want to create a safe space for our members and guests, and that is why we avoid discussing controversial topics, focusing on sex, religion, and politics. Of course, it's not a Toastmasters rule by any means, but any attempt to create debate, controversy, or marginalize a person or a class of persons or individual is discouraged. So, our appeal to everyone is to keep the discussion professional and also to take care and be inclusive and be polite and kind. With that, I hand over the charge now. And of course, this meeting will be recorded like all meetings of WordWise Advanced Toastmasters Club. By joining this meeting, you consent to be seen and heard. And yes, believe it or not, in 2025, we need to say such a thing to avoid lawsuits. The kind of environment, yes, I experienced that once in a US Toastmasters meeting where a lady was asked to turn her screen on, and she said, "How dare you force me to I don't want to be seen." So, but unfortunately, this is kind of how it works, ladies and gentlemen, in Toastmasters meeting. We have to see and listen to each other. So by joining this meeting, you consent to that. And yes, the meeting is recorded. But if you wish not to be recorded for your particular portion of speaking, we can suspend the recording. With that, handing over finally now to our acting president and VP Education, Toastmaster Mehr Tanvir.
Thank you very much, Acting Sergeant at Arms, VPPR, DTM Talha bin Hamid, and founder of WordWise Advanced Toastmasters Club. Welcome formally to all of you guests, members, to this 52nd meeting of WordWise, where we will be trying to unpack the qualities that make a speech great or good or bad or brilliant or any shade in between. American writer and author Dale Carnegie once said, there are always three speeches for every one that you actually give. The one you practiced, the one you gave, and the one you wish you gave. Isn't that true for so many of us? How many of us can relate to that? Absolutely.
Me.
Absolutely. Yeah, isn't it so? I think everyone, yeah, two hands up here. I think everyone who has stood on that podium and that stage, every one of us who has actually delved into public speaking or taken the plunge into oratory can vouch for the fact that we always walk away thinking, oh, darn, wish I had said it this way, wish I had put in that quote, wish I had turned my head or used my vocal variety or made a pause at that particular space. At first glance, this seems like a very hopeless case, doesn't it? Are we never going to be satisfied? Are we never going to deliver that perfect speech where we can get that perfect score like an Olympian, 10 out of 10, with all judges in our dreams holding up their placards and telling us, gold for her, gold all the way. When will we achieve that dream? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in actual fact, all this represents is the nuance of the fine art of public speaking. The speech that we want to give is actually our idea, our imagination, our inner landscape, our intention, and our thoughts that we want to present to the world at large. That message, that feeling, that emotion that has enraptured us and completely involved us. And we really feel the need to share this message with others around us so that they can benefit from what we have learned from our life experiences. Now, when we actually deliver that speech, we are attempting to put words and actions to those ideas. And as evidenced by the myriad of languages available all across the world. There are several modes of expression. There are several ways of encapsulating a thought into a medium of communication. Now, the third speech simply represents this vast expanse, this ocean of expression in which we are plunging ourselves, like the ocean of music, where we do know the 7 fundamental notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, but the ways that we can put them together, the different permutations and combinations, are infinite. And so it is the same with language and public speaking, my friends. We will always find ways to use that better vocabulary or a better arrangement of the sentence or a better rhyme or a better rhetoric because we are constantly swimming in this ocean. So, in fact, we can understand it to mean that no speech is, in fact, quite incorrect or just completely without value, but it is a continuous process of trying to reach that tangential horizon, that asymptotic horizon. And that is, in fact, the joy and the real thrill of public speaking, to get better and better and to reach greater heights. To help us along in our meeting today, of course, we have our wonderful role players. And of course, no meeting can be complete without them because they are running in the background, just like the dots in on our T's, dots in our I's and dashes in our T's, without whom our meetings are meaningless. And so our first role player of the day, whom I would like to introduce, is our language evaluator, Toastmaster Noor Malik, who is our resident polyglot, a master in French, German, Urdu, English, of course, and I think a hint of Punjabi, and who just reached Berlin yesterday from Pakistan, but despite his jet lag, is here to tell us more about our language and to teach us more about words and to make us a word wiser. Over to you, Toastmaster Noor.
Thank you very much. I guess, turn on the camera for a bit. It has just been the morning here. It was like 8 a.m. when Toastmaster Mehr called me. Had to wake me up, of course, too early. I landed yesterday in Berlin. Hello, I am your grammarian. The word of the day would be edify, which has 2 meanings. One meaning is to instruct or to educate, and the other meaning is to construct physically, in the sense. You can use them in either meanings. You can use it in either meanings, and you can also change the word around to maybe use the word edification if you like. So try to make good use of it. I'll give you examples. In the first meaning, example could be, the book aims not only to entertain, but also to edify the readers. The second meaning of construction, in the Middle Ages, the edification of grand cathedrals was considered central to preaching Christianity. I'll also put all of this in the chat for you to refer. I will look forward to noting improvements as well as exceptional usage of language and, of course, your usage of the word of the day. So back to you, Toastmaster Mehr. I would turn my camera off because I'll be walking around the apartment for a bit. So but I'll be listening. Don't think I won't be listening.
Thank you, Toastmaster Noor. So long as your ears are open, we are good with you. All right. If you could just put the word of the day in the chat box as well for the benefit of our members and guests so that they can use the word of the day during their speeches. And now to move on to our next role player of the day, as time is of the essence. It's about time we introduced a role player who is ahead of her time, who will help us beat the clock. Toastmasters Srijita Raj Singh.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very glad to be here. And my job as the timer is to track, one, how on time are we with the meeting? And we're already 8 minutes late. And my job is also to track how much time every single person who takes the stage took to conduct their role. And I will be delivering my report at the end when called on by the general evaluator. As general guidelines, I would like to inform you all that the table topic speeches that we will be having today are supposed to be 1 to 2 minutes long with a 30-second grace period. So at 1 minute, you will be seeing my screen turn green, which will be the green card, which means that you have qualified the minimum time limit. At 1 minute, at 1 minute 30 seconds, you will see the yellow card. And at 2 minutes, you will see the red card, which implies that you have 30 seconds to conclude your speech. For the Let's Word It segment, we have a different time frame, which is 3 to 5 minutes. So at 3 minutes, you will see the green card. At 4 minutes, the yellow card. And at 5 minutes, the red card, which again implies that you have 30 seconds to conclude your performance. The role players will also be timed likewise according to the time that has been set in the agenda. It's not a rigid time, but rather directive of how we can go ahead with it. So when you see the green card, it means you're on track. By the yellow or the red card, it would be helpful to conclude in the next 30 seconds. That's what I have, and let's be on time. Yeah, that's all.
All right, huge round of applause for Toastmasters Srijita. Thank you for that very detailed explanation of our timing. And I know that you're going to keep me on my toes throughout the meeting. This is one task, that mission that our President Cyril gave us that we have to follow through. Right. Now for our segments. Of course, many of you are returning guests and also members, but let's have a recap of what we have in store for you today. Our segments will in fact proceed exactly as the progress of the 3 speeches. In fact, how, as our agenda has outlined the program that we wish to present, and where every WordWise meeting proceeds like the chapters of a book. And so through the agenda, we will deliver the speech and the program as it is, the second speech, where every book begins with a prelude or preface, which is the WordWise Odyssey or Keynote, which will be delivered by the illustrious DTM Talha bin Hamid today. And he is going to be giving us a very, very special contestants briefing, and very important as well. And we will come to that in a minute. This is usually followed by the episodes or prepared speeches from Toastmasters Pathways. Today, in lieu of those, we are reverting to the vignettes, which are our tricky twists on table topics to quicken your wit, quicken your pulse, and set your tails on fire. And who better to lead that segment than Toastmaster Muhammad Asghar, who is our resident deadpan wit of the day. Our next most exciting segment will be the Let's Word It, which is the extempore writing segment, in which our participants will offer a 3 to 5 minute speech on the topic of the day, presented by our extempore writing curator. And before I introduce our last segment of the day, I would like to hand over the virtual gavel to our Let's Word It curator, Toastmaster Soumaiyya Sheikh, to introduce the topic of the day.
Thank you so much, Toastmasters Mehr, for giving me an opportunity to explain what Let's Word It would be today. Before I go on into the detail, please, I would like you all to keep it in mind that you have 3 to 5 minutes for saying it, but you will be having a lot of time between all the things that are going on in our episodes to write whatever comes into your mind about it. When I was looking into it, something that struck me is a quote by Robert Jordan. The quote goes on like this: "The oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived." When we are talking about it, the oak tree is strong and proud. It represents those who are rigid and unyielding in the face of challenges. When a strong wind representing any difficult situation in our life comes along, the oak's resistance leads to its downfall. It breaks because it refuses to end. The willow tree, on the other hand, is flexible and adaptable. It represents those who understand the importance of yielding when necessary. When the strong wind comes, the willow bends and goes with the flow. By being flexible, it survives the storm. It is better to be flexible and adaptable like the willow than to be rigid and unyielding like the oak. In life, there are and there will be challenges that we cannot overcome by force. Sometimes the best way to survive is to bend, adapt, and go with the flow. This doesn't mean that we are giving up, but rather understanding when to yield in order to overcome adversity. I'm going to repeat the quote again, on which I will request the audience, the guests, or the members of our club to please volunteer. I need at least 2 to 3 volunteers so that you can carry on with the segment. The quote of the day that you will be writing on is, "The oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived." I'm going to write it down in the comment sections as well for you all to revert to it. Any volunteers?
All right, folks, this is a very, very intriguing.
Oh, Noor Malik is already there, always.
Wonderful.
Anybody else?
Toastmaster Latif, would you like to give it a shot?
Really, I was not expecting Toastmasters Talha bin Hamid to raise hand because he's already having it. Oh, I have Toastmasters Latif.
Amazing. Wonderful. Toastmaster Aiza.
Yes.
Practice.
If you say so.
I say so.
Ooh, wow.
Toastmaster Gavin, I'd like you to give it a shot.
Actually, I was not able to understand because there was a network issue. I'm sorry
Okay.
for that.
So I can repeat it if you want me to.
Please do.
So the quote of the day that you will be writing on is, "The oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived." I'm going to write it in the chat box as well.
Okay.
Okay. So should I write your name?
No. I don't have
Okay.
confidence.
All right. That's all right. So
Okay.
I have 4 speakers by far: Toastmasters Noor Malik, Toastmasters Latif, Toastmasters TBH, and Toastmasters to be Toastmasters Aiza.
Practically and virtually.
Back to you, Toastmasters of the day.
All right. Thank you so much. Toastmaster Gavin, you're very
I
welcome
think
back.
Toastmaster DTM GQ, yes, he's also in.
Ah,
Okay. Yeah. Assalamu
Who did
alaikum
I
and good
miss?
morning. Good afternoon,
Walaikum
everyone.
assalam. Good afternoon.
So just wanted to understand this entire phrase, because usually in our meetings we use a word of the day. So are we expected to use the entire phrase in our speech in the table topics or what? So if anybody could just explain it, because this is my first meeting for this club. I've been attending meetings in other separate
Okay, so
clubs.
it's a bit different in WordWise. Table topics is a separate segment, and this is an extempore writing segment in which we give you a quote or a proverb of anything from a famous writer or a famous person, and then we give you some time till the prepared speeches are done, till the other segments are done, and by the end of the meeting, you'll be giving from 3 to 5 minutes on which whatever you have written on it, you can speak your heart about it.
Oh, great. That sounds too good.
Okay, so should I count you in?
Yeah, please do that. Please do count me in as well.
Okay, so do you want me to repeat the quote?
So you have already written in the chat. You have already written in the chat. I've gone through that, and right, 3 to 5 minutes. All we need to do is to write a small paragraph on it and explain it in 3 to 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Sounds too good.
Okay, so I have 5 now. Okay, perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you all for participating and volunteering. And for those of you who are new to this, so glad that you joined us, and you're very welcome to come back in a future meeting and find out that it's actually not as hard as you thought. Believe you me, even the founder, DTM Talha bin Hamid, and I'm the charter president, even when we first started the club, we ourselves were actually horror-stricken at what we'd gone for. But once we started doing it, we found out that we're all in the same boat and we're all learning, and this is a very accepting and safe space. Thank you so much for volunteering, everyone. Right, and to finally conclude my story of the segments, we will complete and wind up our meeting with the last and grandest session of the day, which is the general evaluation, in which all the loose ends will be tied up. And the third phase of the speech will be taking place, in which we can note the progress that we can make, where feedback from our general evaluator will help us understand how to optimize our potential and present the program that we could have presented in our mind or will present the next time round. So it's all a continuous circle of creation, ideation, then presentation and delivery, and then feedback. continuous circle of learning. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our most anticipated keynote and rather education session, or the Odyssey. What can I say? The cat gets my tongue when I try to introduce this edified gentleman. But to spill the beans, he is a man of many talents and scores of accomplishments. He is the author of a myriad of published articles and several unpublished books. And he is the author of several widely attended and intriguingly compiled keynotes. DTM Talha bin Hamid is a 5 times DTM who has completed all 11 education pathways, judged countless speech contests of every format, been the contest chair for countless programs and competitions of every format, and he hits just the right notes in his keynote when asked to talk shop on what constitutes a great speech, a bad one, and some shades in between. Over to you, DTM Talha bin Hamid. All right, and there seems to have been
I think, yes, there seems to be some internet issues. Welcome back.
Yeah, actually, my Zoom was acting up. It refused to show me the mouse pointer, so I quickly thought to, as all the top technical experts do, to exit and come back again. And apparently it worked. So
yeah, shutting down and rebooting always helps, right? So to recap, you missed the great introduction I prepared for you, Dita. All right.
I listened to most of it. Only the last 2 lines maybe I missed.
All right. Well, over to you, and to tell us the SpeechCraft secrets, the good, the bad, and the brilliant, DTM Talha bin Hamid.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mehr. So today we're going to try and solve the mystery that is speech contests, and try to unravel why and how we can perform well and impress the judges. But the question is, why? Why are we here? Is our sole purpose of existence is impressing a set of individuals whom we don't know, whom we'll never know, who will never know us, and for all we know, they might be worse than any of us in terms of their own capabilities. As I said, and as the blurb for the keynote says, those who can't conduct education sessions. Because I've never won an international speech contest. The closest I came was in 2019 at the Karachi Toastmasters Club, where I stood second and lost to someone whom you might know, you might have vaguely heard of him, DTM Talha. So, but that loss and subsequently my induction into district leadership meant that thankfully I lost the ability to compete. And as a consequence, I was engaged as a judge, left, right, and center. So what I'll be presenting today is my experience as a judge, as a chief judge, or as one part of a panel of judges, because every time one judges a contest, one notices certain patterns and certain trends. And every time it's a learning experience as well. So moving on, the first thing is, why are you on stage? So if you're speaking in a speech contest, why are you on the stage? Would anyone like to answer that?
To share a story worth listening to.
Inspire others and be a leader.
Okay, that actually is a kind of anticlimactic, because I was expecting an answer like winning the contest or impressing the judges. Then I would have said wrong, but no, you guys are already onto that. So our greater purpose should always be before us. That is what will elevate the ordinary and the mundane into something extraordinary. And that greater purpose is not to impress a set of losers who could not otherwise compete and therefore were appointed as judges. And that purpose should be nothing less to change the world and to change yourself. To change at least one life, if not more, in a small way. That is what your purpose should be. If you will make that your guiding light when you're writing a speech, your speech will be impressive. It will be world changing. Whether it stands on the podium or not is secondary. I'm not pretending that winning is not important. I'm not saying that. But there are some things more important than winning. And ironically, if you forget about winning for a moment, that may actually help you to win. How is that? We will now move on to the ballot, and I'll just quickly go through the International Speech Contest ballot. And that ballot is actually the blueprint for the judges, but it is also a blueprint for the contestants. So even if you don't read anything else before preparation of a speech, you need to read this. Because this is not just a life hack towards conquering the heart of the judges. This is actually a life hack towards preparing a great speech. So one thing to be noticed here is content has 50 marks. And that's what is important in Toastmasters. Not how you say it, but what you have to say. How you say it comes afterwards. However, sometimes there's a line that gets blurred between what you have to say and how you say it. And that is why sometimes one ends up believing that apparently the winner was stronger in delivery, but their content was just okay. But how does that happen? We will come to that. Just give. So apparently all the noise-making things in this world and noise-making humans decided to go into full swing right at this moment. I hope I'm not sounding too. I mean, my voice is clear. I think. Thank you. So speech development, structure, organization, and support material. That means if you look at these three words, it has to have a structure, it has to have an organization, and it has to have a support material, which means that it needs to present a scenario, a theory, or a principle, or anything that needs proving. Keep that in mind. You are presenting something, you're presenting a question, you're presenting a proposal, and you're proving that through your speech. Even if you don't realize it, your international speech is like that. For example, if you look at the World Championship of Public Speaking, winning speeches, each and every one of them is presenting a unique idea, something that is probably counterintuitive, right? Something that is not entirely logical. And then the rest of the speech is spent trying to prove that point. And that is what speech development is about. It has to be that way because you're asking for 5 to 7 minutes of your audience, and it should not be wasted. That is why a speech should have a main point, an agenda, something to prove. And the rest of the speech should be an attempt through examples, through dialogues, through personal stories to prove that why is that thing true for you. We move on to effectiveness, which is clear purpose, achievement of purpose, and relevance. Now, clear purpose, which means that the speech should inherently be simple. It should be simple enough to convey its main idea. Remember, any speech which is overly complex, which actually aims to convey the literary slash logical prowess of its speaker, does not win, because judges don't like that. They like to think of themselves as judges. A speech is not a test of smartness. It is not a listening test. And unlike normal club speeches, the audience and the judges have only one chance to listen to that speech. That's it. The speech will not be repeated. Its recording will not be shown to the judges or to the audience. And that means that whatever needs to happen within those 5 to 7 minutes. And that is why simplicity and clarity is your best bet. You should not cram too many ideas into a speech. Only recently, I made a speech at Karachi Toastmasters Club, and Toastmaster Latif evaluated me. And his most valuable point of evaluation was that I mentioned 3 stories in that speech. It could have been just 1 or 2 stories. So, yes, it is very easy to err towards complexity, but that will take away the impact of our speech. And that is why the purpose should be clear, not to us, but to the audience, right? So that means that it should be clear, and during the speech, your speech should achieve that purpose, and it should prove what you're trying to prove through your content. And that's where relevance also comes from. In an international speech, it is nothing, and again, speaking as a judge, nothing takes me away from a speech more than a phrase like, and by the way, or also. Why? Because you're using these connecting words because you're trying to connect unrelated things to the main body of your speech. They may sound very connected to you, but ask yourself, if you're having to use phrase like in addition or um, also or forget about that for a moment. Let's move on to another thing. No, that's not the way to go in an international speech. It should be self-explanatory, it should be self-contained, it should be focused. Ideas, logic, and original thought. This is the one area where I find most participants struggle. Ideas are there, logic is there, but the third most crucial thing, original thought, sometimes is not there. Original thought means you should bring in something that's slightly unusual, that should be a little bit out of the left field. That's the only way your speech will be remembered. If your speech is just like any other speech, I mean, right now, sitting here, I can make a speech of 5 to 7 minutes that will be exactly as per this ballot, that will sound exactly like most other contest speeches, but that will not make an impact. It will be technically 100% sound, but it will not make an impact. So this was the content part. Just to recap quickly, the speech should be well developed, it should be structured, it should present a premise or a proposal, and then it should prove it. And the proposal or the premise should be very clear. That purpose or proposal should be proven during the speech, and all the material you present should be relevant to the original premise. The third and most important thing, and if you see, it is literally the most important because it has 25 marks. A whole quarter of the entire marks is devoted to you bringing in something new and fresh to the table. So unless you do that, your speech does not have a chance. Your speech may be the best speech in the world, but it will not be remembered if it does not present anything new. We move now to the delivery part. And why did I say that sometimes the line between content and delivery gets blurred? It is simply because sometimes it is hard to tell the two apart. For example, if you're presenting a set of dialogues in your speech, it really matters how you deliver them. Otherwise, they will just come across as flat, and sometimes we even may struggle to understand that. As a judge, let me admit that. I think no other judge will ever admit that. Sometimes, when a speech is not special enough and you lose track, then you skip large parts of the meeting from your consciousness. I mean, it's not as if you're not listening. Yes, you are listening, you are attentive, but even then, the speech is not registering here. And that should not happen by any means. And that's what happens when your delivery is weak. And that impacts your content. I hope you're getting my point. It's like they say, if a tree falls in the forest, will someone hear it or not? Because if you don't listen to something, if you don't grab onto something, and that is because the presenter was not making a good job of presenting that content, you will be blind to that content. You will miss that content. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, delivery sometimes becomes your content because it makes sure that your content gets across. Appearance, body language, speaking area, all of you are experienced speakers, but let me tell you one thing, that appearance plays a great role in your speech. You should come prepared, both with respect to the speech and with respect to the appearance. I have seen contestants who, when they walked onto the stage, left such a bad impression with their state of attire and readiness that one was automatically urged not to give value to anything they said. I mean, that's unfortunate, that should not be, but we are all humans. Why is that? It's all about respect. We have engaged a set of individuals as judges, as role players, as contest masters, and they have taken out their time voluntarily to arrange a contest. And on the other hand, there are the contestants who have spent days and weeks preparing, right? And if you come across as one of the contestants who did not give this process enough respect, who does not have enough respect for the audience to be able to dress well and to come prepared, then I'm sorry. Regardless of whatever else is there on this ballot, and regardless of what the rule book says, your speech will not have a chance. Some things go beyond numbers and beyond balance, beyond categories. And this is one of those things. The more prepared you are, the better you will score. Flexibility and volume, of course, your voice should be conveying the content of your speech. There are a lot of debates about how much flexibility is required. But one thing is for sure, and that is that it cannot be a flat, deadpan speech. It needs to have some degree of variation. And the best shortcut to introduce that is to introduce characters and dialogues. Not too many, maybe just one or two. But when you introduce spoken lines from other characters, you will try to push yourself to assume the role of those other characters, and that will automatically bring vocal variety. Let me give you another tip. Create intense excitement, whether anger or sadness or excitement or irritation in your speech. Convey a situation where someone is actually reacting to a situation of intense excitement. When you will do that, you will actually convey vocal variety. For example, if I'm giving a speech and I'm channeling a character and I did something stupid, and that character said, "Oh my God, what did you do?" Something like that, right? Or, "What were you thinking?" So venture out beyond your usual vocal range and also give strong gestures. If you do that once or twice, that will automatically check this box, voice flexibility and volume, because your voice became flexible when it needed. So try to create that situation and try to channel someone else conveying that situation. That's a very easy life hack where you can do that. Then there's your manner, directness, assurance, and enthusiasm. And of course, uh, that will only come from preparation. If you're well prepared, you'll be direct, you'll be assured, and you will be enthusiastic. Also, sometimes it pays well to introduce even artificially some energy into your speech because that conveys to the judges that this person is enthusiastic. Finally, appropriateness to speech purpose and audience. This actually harks back to this speech development structure, organization, and support material. So you cannot start a speech about an inspirational story and then spend the rest of the speech about some irrelevant things about your life. Everything needs to be tied to the purpose of the speech and to the audience. And let me tell you one more thing. If your club forbids, if your club voluntarily chooses not to discuss sex, religion, and politics, your speeches are also governed by that. So it will also count, especially at a club level. Area and division, that is different. But you know what? Appropriateness is a gray area, and it is entirely up to the judges to decide what they think is appropriate. So be very careful because if you say a controversial statement, if you say something that offends someone's sensibilities or religious beliefs or social beliefs or anything, then you know what, you have a good chance of scoring less on the ballot. And finally, grammar, pronunciation, and word selection, again, all that comes from preparation. So this was the ballot. And sorry, if I may ask the timer, how much time has actually passed?
20 minutes.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. I guess that much. So now moving on, moving back to the presentation, I will quickly go through. Wait. Okay, so we covered the ballot, right? And now we will move on to, we will dissect the speech very shortly, but just to recap and reinforce some of the points, the good is thorough preparation. The more prepared you are, there's no shortcut to preparation, and there's no greater impact onto the judges if you are uh, well prepared. Dress up. Your speech should have a personal story. Your story should have humor. Your story should have tragedy. It should have clarity. It should have simplicity. It should have dialogue and some rhetorical devices such as puns, distractions. You know, sometimes some speakers do something. They are leading somewhere with their story, and suddenly it turns into a completely different direction. So that also plays well. And of course, this is not a comprehensive checklist, but any of these things would add to your speech. You should work to actually incorporate these things. And the reason I'm stressing about personal story is because if you look at the world champions, no matter which year, it is always a personal story. Always a personal story. Because that is how you will convey it with your full heart and soul and your full capacities. Humor should be there because sometimes I know it's not a prerequisite, but sometimes judges actually expect some humor in the speech. Uh, and of course, tragedy is a foolproof way because and there's an ongoing joke around the Toastmasters community that the three Ds of championship speeches: death, disease, and diverse. So, So, unfortunately, that is not entirely without its basis. But you know what? Like tragedies teaches us great lessons. So I would urge you, if you have a compelling story to tell around a tragedy, by all means bring it in. But please don't just bring it in because it will it will ensure impressing the judges. There have been speeches which have not involved a great deal of tragedy, and we are about to see one right now. Originality. Now, why do I keep say that this is the lurking serpent? Because sometimes you may unknowingly fall into an originality trap without you intending to do so. One thing to remember is the disqualification on the basis of originality does not necessarily mean that the person stole the speech from somewhere or they deliberately plagiarized. But at the same time, you may do it without knowing. For example, if I base my speech on the life of Nelson Mandela, it will fail the originality test. Even if I wrote every word myself, at least I would fail it because it's someone else's story, which is very well known and public. On the other hand, if I base my speech on the life story of a friend of mine whom no one else has heard and it's not public, that will be something completely different, right? So please, um, in addition to the uh, obvious trap of copying something, this is also something that may uh, fail the originality test. And your only answer, your only way out is personal story. The bad, lack of preparation. If you're casual, if you appear erratic, if you appear not caring about the judges, well, that will not fly. Mehness, which means that the speech does not have anything extraordinary. It does not have a shock and awe factor. That will also not fly because someone else will always be there with a speech that has it. And that speech will beat your speech. Safety and predictability. Don't go through the familiar beats of opening, transition, uh, the body, then transition, and then conclusion. And what's the worst part? When people say, let me elaborate that a bit on that. Or I will conclude my speech thus, because they're broadcasting that they're mentally checking off a list. Yes, we are all doing that, but that does not mean to be conveyed. So the speech has to be organic, it needs to take risks. So you don't have any obligation to start at the very beginning. You can start in the middle and then go work your way to the big, right? That's just one of the techniques that great speakers use. Lack of surprise and delight and lack of originality, of course, just like Homer, it was also uh, lack of surprise and delight means that your speech should have at least one or two memorable sentences or statements. It absolutely needs to, otherwise your speech does not have a chance. Trust me on that. By the numbers, I just mentioned that, if it has a very conventional structure and people can predict what is coming next, then also it will make your speech not memorable. And sometimes the memorability of your speech is actually what is determining how your speech does in the contest. And finally, something I personally despise, someone very rightly said. And you know what's the worst part? You ending the speech with a quote. By God, don't do that, please. Yes, I know it's not illegal, but consider what you're leaving the audience with. Not your words, but someone else's words. By all means, use quotes, but perhaps in the middle of the speech to reinforce some of your points. Don't leave the audience with a quote. Leave the audience with something you said, because that's what needs to be remembered. If I enlist a quote from someone and use that as my conclusion or punchline, uh, that will not be original. And even if it passes the originality test, it will make my speech um, not memorable. The judges will remember the quote and perhaps not what I said earlier. So that is it for the briefing, so to speak. And now we will move on to the dissection of a championship winning speech. And what I'll be showing is something that, wait a minute, I want to share sound, optimize for video sharing. This is one of my favorite speeches of all time because first of all, it's a brilliant speech. And secondly, it does not rely on the usual tropes of death, disease, and divorce to make its point. So I'll be starting the speech first, and we'll listen to the entire speech, and then I'll have some comments on the speech, and I'll invite comments from you. So let me know. I'm turning it on. Let me know if you can hear the audio.
Good luck. I'll mention your name and no problem. Prasiyan Vasilev changed by a tire. Changed by a tire, Prasiyan Vasilev.
So just notice, ladies and gentlemen, the title, Changed by a Tire. We change tires, but this is a play on words that he did not change a tire, but he got changed by a tire. And a catchy title, a clever title is your one way to start impressing the audience even before you speak a word.
The steering wheel jerked. I tried to keep the car in control. That night in Chicago, a flat tire changed me.
Notice how he started in the middle. He started with something, with a very intense situation. And before that, he stood before the audience not doing anything. Let me tell you a secret, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't do anything, the timer will not start. So you can take that time to set yourself up, to absorb the atmosphere around you.
I pulled in the nearby gas station, and under bright lights, parked on a slope leading to a busy street. Mr. Contest Chair, Toastmasters and guests, have you ever done something stupid?
There is this distraction when he says, have you ever done? And then, boom, stupid.
I broke the first rule of changing a tire. Choose a level spot. Friends, in Chicago, there aren't that many slopes. But that night, I found one. Why do flat tires always happen when you're dressed up?
Now he's taking off his coat and he's about to use it for many purposes during the speech. But right now, his act of taking it off also plays into his narrative where why do flat tires always happen when you are dressed up? And he's also subtly conveying that, in order to address a flat tire, you have to get rid of the fancy clothes that you're wearing. So notice how well planned this is.
Opened the trunk, excavated the jack, unused for centuries. Rusty piece of metal. I thought, I can handle it. Loosened the nuts, placed the jack down.
This is the sound he mastered specially for this speech, and it took a lot of practice. We invited him for one of the education sessions in our district, and I specifically asked him this question, that how did you come up with this sound? And he said that, he practiced for months and months for this.
Half hour to remove the tire. The only support in front, the rusty jack. Back at the trunk, I pulled out the spare tire, shook the entire car. I saw the car going downhill. Bang! The jack collapsed, the car collapsed, my lungs collapsed.
This is the rule of threes. The jack collapsed, the car collapsed, my lungs collapsed. That's a very effective rhetoric device when you do things in threes.
An inner voice said, "You are an idiot." Then another voice, "Reach out."
Notice how he varies the two inner voices. You are an idiot, and then reach out. So the whole point of the speech is reaching out. But he brings that in at the almost a 3-minute mark into the speech.
Reach out. I can handle it.
And this also plays into the stereotypical thinking that especially we men have, right? If something goes wrong, or if we are lost along the way, we refuse to ask for directions, we refuse to seek help. We like to pretend that, we can handle everything. So he doesn't call that out, but it's right there in his expressions.
Lifted the car almost enough. Bang! If at first you don't succeed, almost enough. Bang! The car had moved to a steeper slope. I grasped the gravity of the situation.
Another rhetorical device. I think Toastmaster Noor will love that, and so will Cyril, of course. Gravity of the situation. So he's referring to the gravity because gravity is the main problem. That is what's pulling the car down the slope.
The people at the bus stop across the street were looking at me. I was giving a demonstration how not to change a tire.
Another rhetorical device, misleading. I was giving a demonstration how not to change a tire. This is also the style adopted by a lot of stand-up comedians. They're leading somewhere else and then they suddenly bring everything down.
Then that voice again, reach out. Reach out? Should I involve them? Of course not. That's not my car. In the gas station, behind the counter, stood a big man with a big smile. Badge read, Jesse. He said, "My friend, was your car doing push-ups?" I told him I did something stupid. I asked him for help. We got out. Jesse looked at the car and said, "You were right. That's stupid. Let me show you." You never know who you're going to find when you reach out. I found a DJM, Distinguished Jackmaster.
So this is another play on words, distinguished Toastmaster, distinguished Jackmaster.
Jesse helped me lift the car up. Rusty, foolish hand shook Rusty, helping hand. That night, I stopped to change a tire. Instead, the tire changed me. I used to believe that to reach out was weakness. I discovered my weakness was refusing to reach out. When you reach out, you attract ideas that lift you up.
See, he's sticking to that imagery of a flat tire, car collapse, and trying to lift it up. How beautifully he sticks to that imagery and reinforces it.
When you reach out, you attract solutions that lift you up. When you reach out, you attract friendships that lift you up. Maybe you want a better voice. Reach out to a singer. Maybe you want better writing. Reach out to a writer. Maybe you want better tire changing skills. Reach out to me.
Now notice this, another punchline is coming.
I'll give you Jesse's number.
So one would think that he learned to be a superior tire changer through Jesse's help, but it turns out that no, he still sucks as always. But now he knows someone who can, and that is the whole point of the speech.
Is there something collapsed in your life? Your knowledge may be limited. Your skills may be rusty, but no doubt you'll be changed when you reach out.
Now, I'm not sure about that gesture. It would not have flown well at all today, especially in today's day and age, when Elon did something similar and he was accused of doing the Nazi salute. But so everyone, your one-line impression of this speech, go on. You have about 30 seconds. Type in the chat box. Anyone else? Yes. So I'll just conclude now because I think I overshot my time. Madam Timer, by how much I have overshot my time?
11 minutes so far.
Oh my God, I'm already 11 minutes over. So I'll just wind up. I mean, there's not much else to teach after listening to that speech. It does not present a great tragedy. It does not have a single death or a single tear or no divorce, no major disease. But at the same time, it makes a compelling case. And that is why it became the world champion speech for that particular year. I would also conclude by saying one more thing, which may sound very racist and inappropriate, but try to emulate and see the speeches of native English speakers, because their language is who you are trying to excel at. If you were trying to give a Urdu speech, of course, you would listen to a native Urdu speaker from Pakistan or from India or from anywhere else. You would not listen to, let's say, a person trying to speak bad Urdu who does not know Urdu, right? That works for English as well. I'm not challenging the delivery of non-native English speakers by any means, but sometimes that little bit of naturalness and added skill that can only come when you notice the subtleties. Notice how his facial expressions completely matched at every stage of the speech. So with that, I break the session to a close and hand over to our Toastmaster of the day. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you very much indeed, distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid. I must say that I learned a lot in this education session as well. It was a wonderfully comprehensive and well elucidated and very well explained and very detailed session. Thank you so much for taking our time for sharing all those tips and tricks with us. And we did a similar education session last year as well, and that was also a week before our contest. And that session also helped me a great deal. So I really feel obligated and thankful and grateful to DTM Talha for sharing all of his learnings with all the attendees here. Definitely the recording will also be put up on YouTube. But those of you who have, although we have gone over time, but those of you who have questions, please do put them in the chat or please raise your hands and you're welcome to share them live. Any question at all? All right, everybody's very clear. So yes, please, DTM Abrar, our newly minted Distinguished Toastmaster, Abrar Vani, Division Director, Division C. Thank you for joining us. Please ask your question.
Yes, thank you very much. I totally agree with DTM Talha bin Hamid, who was actually telling us that, well, there was a language issue we can easily see in this speech, the accent issue. And it was very clear the accent was definitely not native. The question I would like to ask here, that while he was delivering speech, his accent was not there. I don't know how the judges might have took their point of view in the ballot, but will it affect the language portion if you will have an accent issue while delivering a speech? Just asking with the point of view how judges will see that.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, it depends upon which judges are you talking about. Pakistani judges will, of course, be more sympathetic to language issues by nature, right? Also, what matters is not the accent itself, but the clarity. As long as your speech is clear, your words are clear, no one will deduct marks for accent, right? My point behind it was, for our own personal learning, if we want to excel at speaking English, we should try to emulate native English speakers. And thank you for pointing that out, DTM Abrar, that yes, he's clearly not a native English speaker, and he had a strong accent, but at the same time, we could hear and understand each and every word. So that's all that matters. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much. One more thing I would like to ask. One more thing. Yes, for that I need my camera to be on so that I could make people see. Well, if you might have seen this whole speech, there was a continuous, a monotone expression on his facial, like he was like this most of the time when he was explaining. Have you seen that? And he was just frowning at that point. And this was consistent thing I was noticing. As far as the body language is concerned, how facial expressions are important in such case?
Of course, facial expressions are very important, but remember one thing, and that is, I'm about to say something that will create a paradigm shift here. This person was speaking in an age where there's no concept of online meetings. And we had the luxury of having a camera focused on his face all the time. The audience did not. So in this case, his facial expressions or lack thereof did not matter. What people heard was his voice, and what people saw was his full body movement and expressions and the miming and everything. So I hope that answers your question, Abrar. In an online contest, for example, or in a smaller setting, yes, lack of expressional variety would have certainly counted against him. But let's also not forget that there may have been deductions in marks here and there for him, but perhaps the deductions for others were more, right? And that's how he won. So I hope that answers your question, Abrar.
MashaAllah, you are champ. It goes with the saying.
DTM Talha, can I say something, please?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I don't want to say something, but I want to say more than that. I have also, he was also invited in District 20, and someone asked him this question, what Mr. DTM Abrar has asked. He said that this was all purposefully, because whenever he has paused, he has made this as like, he was stupid. He wanted to make sure that those expressions are also said or made when he said the word stupid. And so I don't know, it's not making it, but yes, this question was asked at District 20 training also.
Thank you for that, Latif. And that also goes to show that all these contestants plan each and every second of their speech. And yes, sometimes it may come across as monotonous to us. And again, that also goes to show that why different judges will have different opinions of the same speech, right? But at the same time, what Toastmaster Latif said was once again reinforcing the value of preparation. Imagine the level of preparation where you're planning your expression. And one thing that we all fall victim to, especially I, sometimes I think that my vocal variety is right there. I'm doing justice with the vocal variety. I'm doing justice with the facial expressions. But when I look at the recording, it's not as good as I thought it would be. So that is something to look out for, especially since I face this a lot, and especially in our part of the world where we are raised in such a way where our expressions and vocal variety and gestures are already inhibited. We are taught from day one not to be very expressive, not to be very animated. So yeah, that's one thing that we struggle with and we have to overcome.
Thank you, DTM Talha. Toastmaster Asghar had a question on grammar. If you'd like to quickly comment on that.
Yeah, okay. He pointed out that I did not cover the grammar portion, but what I would just say briefly is that your speech should be completely vetted. Each and every word should be grammatically correct because yes, each of us might have linguistic limitations. We have no excuse to carry those limitations into a contest. So acting on the speaker's words, reach out, and no, I'm not doing the Nazi salute, to someone whose grammar you know to be very good and ask them to correct your speech. You owe this to yourself, you owe this to your audience, and you owe this to the judges. Failure to do so will not actually be an admissible admissible shortcoming. Judges will not should not sympathize with you on that. So I hope that answers your question, Toastmasters.
Thank you very much. One memory that I also have with Toastmaster Persian is I asked a question once how many words he had in his speech, and he said, I think if I remember correctly, between 600 to 700. No more than that, not at all. And because you can see that he had so much body language and so many pauses there, and he also mentioned that he had used his motive of reach out. I mean, he asked how many times, and I think he had to guess, and it was actually more than we had thought. It was in the teens, really. I think it was 13, 15. So if we go back to the speech and we actually hear it and start counting, that motive, that's like, it's rhetorical. It's like rhetorical repetition that is sort of coming into your subconscious. He's tapping on you, reach out, reach out, reach out. So he's really pushing that message. Those are two things that I just wanted to add there. Thank you so much. And yes, indeed, a great tip and takeaway there to speak to your audience, and definitely pronunciation. When we are going into a contest, pronunciation and grammar, they do count. And also on the WCPS stage, this was one of the evaluation criteria this year as well. Although we have gone over time, but this was our main attraction, and so important to take in all the questions. Our next segment of the day is, of course, we are going to transition to our vignettes, which is going to be conducted by none other than our resident wit, Toastmaster Muhammad Asghar, who is a civil servant by day and a grammar Nazi by night. Toastmaster Muhammad Asghar has some exciting topics and themes for you to indulge in. And as Dale Carnegie said, that when we want to overcome our fear of public speaking, are we going to be the horse who spends his time eating grass in the backyard of our barnyards, or the horse who actually stays near the train tracks and the cars and goes through all of that trauma of hearing all those wild sounds so that he eventually becomes calm in the face of danger? This is the perfect time to become calm in the face of danger. So over to you, Toastmaster Muhammad Asghar.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Mehr. Tanvir, thank you very much for inviting me in this session. Today, I'm going to be the table topic masters. Unfortunately, I don't have a JC's visit card with me to show you, so I have to do by myself whatever I'm going to do. And I will try to come up today with again with some statements are saying to not only edify you but also want to add an element of entertainment in the meeting. Let me be very clear. I have a very shaky grasp when it comes to the English pronunciation, apart from the grammar and article things. So please bear with me and don't hesitate to repeat what I am saying, because I know my weaknesses. So without further ado, I would like to go direct to my statement and invite some of you to call. Let me see if we about I think Toastmaster Latif Mansoor Ali don't have any role, so I don't I want to be my first target to speak about something I'm saying. Toastmaster Latif, in fact, everyone, when I delivered my statement or why my uttered my sentence.
I
Okay,
am participating actually on the next segment.
Yeah, that's his cry of help. No, I'm busy. I'm busy.
Then I'm eliminating you. Abrar, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, so dear all, I'm going to say something. You are just need to explain the statement, support it, or negate it. The only condition I want to place is not to talk beyond your allotted time. So here's me. Toastmaster Abrar, for you. If a poor man find a penny, it is probably a false one. Or to you.
Come again and explain. I didn't get you.
I will try to write it as well, but let me read it again. If a poor man finds a penny, it is probably a false one.
Explaining. I didn't get you.
If a poor man finds a penny, it is probably
a false one.
False one.
No, I didn't get. I don't understand the meaning of penny actually.
Khota sikka.
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much.
Come now, please explain the topic again now. Please
गरीब आदमी को खोटा सिक्का ही मिलेगा.
repeat the topic again. If the poor man finds a penny. Penny, okay, penny. Okay, it is probably a false one. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Muhammad Asghar. Well, a person always receives something for which he actually strives for. So whatever a person actually is striving for, he will always receive the same thing. Whatever he's perceiving as far as his life is concerned, whatever he's perceiving about what the future outcome will be, he will definitely receive that thing about him. The overall philosophical statement that you have just made in front of me, that if a poor man finds a penny, it is probably a false one. Well, my dear Toastmaster fellow and distinguished guest, I take this philosophical statement as a perception of an individual who is taking all these things as it might take place in future for what he's thinking about. As far as myself is concerned, I always take things positive. I will not consider something that will come into my hand, and if it is something false, I will like to use it in a perfect way so that I could take or reap a maximum benefit out of it. Yes, my dear Toastmaster fellows and distinguished guests, it's all about perception. It's all about the hope, the positivity that we hold inside ourselves. And this is something that actually decides the journey our destination will make upon. I urge every single individual, instead of focusing something that is equivalent to a false penny, just try to think about a positive element within your mind, that how you can use that false penny into a positive way. In our lives, there are many things that come false, but those things are just limited to our perception. So make your perception positive. Always think, hopefully, for the future. The thing will be ultimately come to you positive. Over to you.
Thank you for fulfilling my condition and speaking up to your time and not beyond it. Thank you. Madhut Bandari, if he's there, is our guest and does not have a role if he's there. Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
hi.
You must be a guest.
I'm a member of another club, so yeah, I'm not sure
Yes.
how you consider that.
So, or here is your statement. When you go to the donkey's house, don't talk about the ears. And I have written it also. Okay.
Last Saturday, I was working on an Excel file which my colleague has shared with me. Therein, he has shared me a reconciliation between two balances. It took me 1 hour to realize that the opening balance and the closing balance are coming from the same side. And then he has shared the reconciliation. I called him and said, "Hey boss, what are you doing? All the figures are same. Then why can you put a reconciliation there?" He explained to me for 1 hour that it is coming from there and all these are adjusting items. And I'm explaining to him again and again, boss, both the figures are from the same file. How can you put an reconciliation at the same figures and there are adjustments wrong? So at that moment, I realized we should not put too much, we should not bang our heads in front of a wall. Or in other words, we should not put, when we are going to a donkey's out, we should not talk about the ears, because some people listen, some not. So it reminds me of another thing. When you are involving a person, if you are teaching him, he might ignore. But if you are involving him, he might become a better version of yourself. Over to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Madhut. Thank you. Our next, Aiza Osmani, I think she does not have a role today or a big role. If she is there, I would
I
like
have a
to
speech
invite
after this.
Okay,
Let's
then
word speech.
That's writing.
okay. So what about Shazeb Iqbal? You don't have a role, right? Shazeb, are you there or you still afraid to face me? Oh, yeah, you are not. Thank you to show your bravery. Okay.
I'm too afraid to face you, by the way, I have to.
Okay. So, if a rat wants to die, it bites a cat's tail.
If a rat wants to die,
It bites a cat's tail. It's also written.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Table Topic Master, Toastmaster Akbar, for putting me in trouble again and again. If a rat wants to die, it bites a cat's tail. I think this is one of the worst situations because the cat and the mouse, the mice, they always have uh, the fight like myself and Toastmaster Azhar have also in the meetings. So now the rats wants to die. So it reminds me something about my office. Uh, in my office, myself and the HR manager, we also have that fight of the race and the cat. And one day he something complained about me to our chairman sir. And when we what I have to say, when we proceeded that thing to further, I read a letter to the chairman sir and I explained myself that there is nothing wrong from my side. So when it comes to the HR manager, he just came to me and he said, "Man, I was just kidding. I did not have uh, such complaints about you." But I told him that you said something to in front of the people, and you had a complaint. But by the way, he just backed up from that point, and it was a kind of a fight of a rat and a cat. So I think it's a fight that we always face in a Toastmasters meeting in our lives, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shazib. And can I invite the timer Sajita Singh for a table topic session?
We have Toastmasters Samreen as well, and we can have one more table topic volunteer.
Okay. Samreen Mukhtar, yes, if she is there, I will be happy to invite her for a talk.
I never thought Mehr would throw me like this in front of a bus.
Yeah, she usually does it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Actually, we have no other role player who has no other role, so we're forced to throw you under the bus. All right, okay.
So you are now under the bus. Okay. Toastmaster Samreen, everything else you grow out of, but you never recover from childhood. And here is the statement.
When we are kids, we just so want to become adults because adulthood feels like freedom. Adulthood feels like you can do anything with your own money, with your own time. You can sleep late, you can wake up late. But when eventually you become adults, you realize that the best part, the best memories, and the best inspirations lied in the childhood. And as adults, we spend most of our life breaking away from the childhood that we spent. But it's only when we come full circle and we go back and hold the finger of that child that we left somewhere, maybe in the playground, maybe in the school classroom, or maybe on the front porch of our childhood home. It's only then when we reestablish the connection that we can become a well-rounded, a well-sounded adult. So even if we want to grow out of childhood, the adulthood will force us to go back and bring back that child with us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's all about re-establishing the connection. Mr. Toastmaster Mehr, do we have a time for another speaker?
I'm afraid that was all the time we had.
So I obediently informed all of you to end this segment, and thank you very much being with me. Over to you, table topic master of the day. Table topic of the day.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, the Toastmaster of the day.
Quite all right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Asghar. And without further ado, as DTM Talha says, when much ado has been made, we say without further ado, over to our Let's Word It Curator, Toastmaster Soumaiyya Sheikh.
Thank you so much, Toastmasters Mehr. Oh, there is something just popped up on my screen. Acha, can I do that before I start with the segment? Just a minute. Okay, done. Okay, so the quote for the day that was given to our very valued volunteers was the oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent when it must and survived. For that, we had 5 volunteers, but unfortunately, DTM Ghulam Qadir had to leave, and we are left with 4. So we are going to start with Toastmasters. Noor Malik, are you up for it? Are you ready? Can we start with you?
Yep. All right. Hello, everyone. Before I start, can you hear me and see me fine? Okay, great. The oak fought the wind and was broken.
80.
Oh, okay, I thought.
Let's restart the time.
Right. The oak fought the wind and was broken, the willow bent and survived. When I read this, I read it again and again, only to understand it better, and I asked myself, why did the oak fight? Was it in the oak's nature to fight? Could the oak not help but fight? Was it all the oaks in the world before him that have always fought, and him only barely following convention to fight? What are the ways in which we can understand the oak and its fight against the wind? The oak fought perhaps because that's the oak's way to survive, to fight until you are broken. The oak fought because that's what an oak is. The oak couldn't help being the oak. The oak fought because the wood from the oak is valuable for us to turn into furnishings. Had the oak not fought the storm, been its wood that useful? The willow bent, my fellows, in its own way of survival. The willow bent because it couldn't become as strong as the oak. The willow bent, and thus the wood from a willow is only good for burning in a fire, as it doesn't have that much structural integrity to be of any further use. The willow bent, but it just remains fuel for fire. The oak didn't, and maintained its usefulness and value. That is one way in which I understood this. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this quote to be a lesson in empathy. The oak and the willow both survived, in my opinion, in their own ways, because of their unique nature. There are many of us that are oaks that break down when life gets too difficult, and we break. But at the same time, we are as useful and important to the world as the oak is. There are others that are willows that can be as the way the oak is, and they bend often too many times just to survive the hardships of life and not to get broken by them. And yet it leads them to be of a nature that is most suited to survival, yet may lack inherent value. Regardless of being an oak or a willow, we are both important to the world in our own ways. Be an oak, be strong, fight hard, even if you break sometimes. Have the integrity and the quality that the oak possesses. Be the willow, be humble at times, sometimes bend if you have to, but don't stay bent. Be upright again, like the oak. The oak and the willow both exist, my fellow audience, for an express purpose. Had a willow been really that weak, truly weak, evolution would have evaporated it off the planet. So the willow is strong in its own ways, so bend like the willow bent. Likewise, the oak breaks, but the oak survives. It has survived for thousands of years, so be like the oak. Be like the willow, fight the wind, and bend to it as time allows you. Thank you very much. That's all I had. Back to the table topics master.
Thank you, Toastmasters Noor Malik. That was very well put in a different version. I never thought that somebody could come up with it in a way. He did it because people before him did it. Is something that I take away from it. Moving on forward, Toastmasters Lateef, are you up for it? Would you like to go on second, or should I ask Toastmasters Talha bin Hamid for it?
If you will give Talha bin Hamid a chance, then I will be more demoralized. So let me just say it first.
Okay.
Because Noor Malik has played his part. Okay, so here I start with the quote which I understand. The oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent, it must and survive. So it was all about the oak, which resembles individual which is strong, he is daring, He's young, he's individual, and so much confident that he feels that what he is doing is correct. So no matter whatever the challenges are, no matter whatever people think about it, no matter how many individuals have come and given a bit of their share or advice that for an improvement, he was shy enough to take that and bend. That only individual, when he went for his own goals and vision, he was shy with not having anyone around. Yet there were people for him, but he did not went across and ask. Is it important for everyone as an individual to be the oak who feels that he is confident, he will never be broken, he does not need anyone? I believe no. In fact, we should be as a willow, which I eventually happened to be when I broke up with all those challenges, which I did not felt at that time a challenge, and I took it as a meaningful why to ask when everybody is growing. Like, for example, I knew that even if I went and we took that very seriously, I've written it in one line actually, but I had to say it in a lengthy way. It says that, we always say that, all happens for good, and whatever has the Lord has made us believe happens in our way. But that's not right. We can always change our fate by asking help. We can be it's okay to be shy, but it's not okay if you don't ask for help. So I feel we should be the willow who is ready to bend, ask help, and of course, they will survive for themselves and for the better future for their goals. So this is the short what I understood and I grabbed set. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmasters Lateef. I believe everything is coming on together and giving us something that is called reach out. Because at times when we think that we are very smart enough and we make stupid things as a decision, it's always better to reach out. Well, reaching out, I have two more of the contestants. No, they're not contestants. People who would like to be a part of it. Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid, is it okay if I take the last one? I want Isa to go in first.
Okay, sure.
Isa, are you up for it? I can't hear you.
Sure, I was expecting to be the last one though.
Okay. Do you want some time?
Yeah, sure. I'll go on. Otherwise, I'll just keep,
Okay. Then you're up.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen and fellow Toastmasters, the oak fought the wind and was broken. The willow bent and survived. Now, I want you to imagine you're standing in a field, you're looking at two gorgeous trees, the mighty oak, who's tall and unyielding, and the willow, who's slender and flexible. Now the storm begins, and the oak, proud and firm, refuses to bend. As the wind howls, its branches crack and crack under pressure. Now, the oak's rigidity becomes its downfall. Meanwhile, the willow bends and the wind allowing the force to pass through, adapting to the storm's fury. When the storm ends, the willow remains standing, unbroken. Now, this contrast between the oak and the willow teaches us a vital lesson, that strength is found in the ability to bend and to adapt, unlike what we've learned before, and to endure. Life's challenges, whether personal, professional, societal, are best met with flexibility, not force. Now, I've experienced this in my life countless of times, as have many of you. When things sometimes feel like a big challenge, adapting and embracing the change led me to discover new strengths within myself, even when it wasn't easy. Just like the willow, I learned that adjusting to the changes in life rather than resisting them has been my path to growth. Now, instead of dwelling on my life, let's go through one of my favorite stories in history. It's 1983, and there's a 12-year-old orphan in Germany, and his name is Hans Wilsdorf. Does it ring a bell to anyone? Now, This child goes ahead and creates one of the first waterproof wristwatches. If anyone is a wristwatch person, this is just a huge story for me. And what's the watch called? The Rolex Oyster. And the kid is the founder of Rolex. Now, this person grew up in a world where wristwatches weren't seen as serious timepieces. They were just like people used to use pocket watches. Wilsdorf's success came from embracing it, showing us that the strength lies in one of our abilities to bend with the winds of innovation. And now everyone knows the distinctive 5-point crown and the green backdrop. Now, these examples remind us that we don't have to be like the willow, bending when necessary, finding new ways to be to move forward, adapting challenges we face. Think of water, soft and fluid. It's always changing its shape. Yet, it carves shapes through rocks and landscapes and whispers, I'll find another way. Now, when life storms come, and they will, remember the oak and the willow. Know when to stand firm. The true strength lies in flexibility and embracing change. We don't survive, we grow and evolve and become something greater than we were before. Now, but the lesson doesn't end with us. As we learn to bend and adapt, we become an example to others, showing them that they too can weather life's storms with grace and strength. The willow doesn't just survive, it thrives, and so can we, as we support and lift each other along the way. Life is not about avoiding the storms. It's about finding the courage to bend, adapt, and to rise again, stronger than we ever thought was possible. May we all learn to be like the willow, flexible, resilient, and always ever growing. Thank you.
Wait, you're not a Toastmasters yet? Very
No,
well
I'm not.
done.
I hope to be, but I'm not yet.
Wow, that was cool. And I just realized that I'm growing old as well. New things are coming up my way, in which I never knew that. I forgot the name of the man who invented the waterproof watch.
Hans Wilsdorf.
Yeah, I'm going to look him up. Last
No,
one.
the thing is, I'm a very big person and I love watches in general. So his
Okay.
story has always resonated with me.
That was new for me, and I believe I could see the people over here as well, and they were like, ooh. But thank you for that, for edifying us while you were delivering your own speech. All right, last but not the least, Toastmasters Talha bin Hamid, you're up.
Thank you so much. You sure have changed a lot of jobs, Talha, but your compensation doesn't reflect that, said one of my friends. What a joy of friends, right? Can't live with them, can't live without them. They expect to say the meanest things and get away with this just to edify you. But heaven forbid if one dares to attempt some reverse edification. They sulk and walk away. But that got me thinking. 20 years of post-qualification experience, 12 job switches, the documented ones, 3 undocumented ones. During this process, my compensation went from pathetically low compared to the market to downright laughable compared to the market. Why? Why does one switch jobs if not for better compensation? Welcome to my world. You will discover compensation is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to reasons to quit a job. Horrible boss, too friendly boss, horrible colleagues, too competent colleagues, too far from home, too near home, too much of an expectation gap, lack of progress, too much progress, lack of excitement, constant excitement. Any number of reasons. To tell you the truth, these are just cover-ups. Since I'm an internal audit professional in a corporate environment, which is still getting acquainted to the concept of accountability, and who are legally required to have an audit department against their will, against every fiber of their being, you could imagine that at many points in time I was asked to do unethical things, and the others, I refused to endorse such behavior. Was I not strong enough? If I had taken a stand, what would I have accomplished? Would the individuals requiring me to endorse fraud burst into flames? Would they have come begging, seeking my forgiveness, forsaken their worldly possessions, and devoted themselves to a life of service? And life does not work that way. They are the oaks, too strong to be broken, and hogging sunlight and minerals and stifling the growth of lesser plants around them. Proud, arrogant, and abrasive, a forest full of oaks is a ghost town. Instead, I chose to bow and remove myself from the situation. Call me a coward, I don't care. Call me a willow, a winnow, a pushover, a leftover, a poser, a loser, a renegade, always afraid. At least I'm here to tell the tale. I'd rather bow and be there to gain strength and fight better and better until one day I don't have to bend and I don't have to fight. At least I survived. Over to you, segment master.
Thank you, Toastmasters Talha bin Hamid. Well, when you said that you got away, it didn't mean that you lost. It's just disconnecting from the toxicity around, which is sometimes very much necessary. That's all for that segment. I hope I did a better job than the last time. Back to you, Toastmasters Mehr.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Soumaiyya. Of course, it was a wonderful, wonderful, wondrous segment. I'd like to hear from our timer. Yes, of course, we have the voting to get to. Everyone, please vote for your favorite. They were all so amazing. But we just, try to put in a vote for someone whom you feel you would like to acknowledge. Right. And so we have, in fact, in the course of this meeting, covered all forms of speaking: informative, entertaining, and persuasive. And now we have arrived at the last phase of the speech writing or the public speaking, the art of public speaking, which is the general evaluation or the feedback, which is where we find out what was it that we could have done, should have done, would have done, can do next time. So following with Dale Carnegie's dictum of having the speech that we wanted to write, the program we wanted to present, the program we actually presented, and then the program that we dreamed that we would have presented, I'd like to call upon, first of all, our language evaluator to tell us who amongst us was successful in using the word of the day, and to edify us with his comments on how to improve our grammar and language usage. Toastmaster Noor Malik.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Mehr. You sneaked yourself past the barrier of using the word. Unfortunately, I myself had forgotten, so I would just put myself behind the bar. First-class citizens are Toastmaster Asghar, Toastmaster Soumaiyya, and Toastmaster Mehr. And if I have missed anyone, my apologies. You have been as Toastmaster Asghar put it, obedient user of the word of the day. In general, the language usage today has been really nice. The speech really had me distracted, both the keynote and the one afterwards. So I tried doing what I did. Some good usage, the oceans in which to plunge, I think. Putting oceans and plunging right side by side was good. Elevate the ordinary and mundane to extraordinary. A shaky grasp. I think this was a good expression because when one thinks about grasping, one thinks about not being able to grasp well and then your hand shaking. So a shaky grasp was a very nice expression. I obediently inform all of you. I mean, Toastmaster Asghar is obviously our choicest, I wouldn't say comedian, but an artist. Valiant volunteers. I think this had very good alliteration, whether it was intended or not. It really, it rang well. A forest full of oaks is a ghost town, linking it to oaks using up all the minerals. And you had complained, I heard, I think it was Toastmaster Shazabi's not here probably, but I heard correct usage of the past perfect tense, and that was nice. Table topics were absolutely wonderful. I think the wording was so witty. I really enjoyed the simplicity of them. I think sometimes the most memorable and remarkable sentences are just exceedingly simple, and you can try, but you can't do any better. Some improvements, the general ones, the one you wish you gave, the one you wish you had given. I think here we also should have used the past perfect tense. What a joy our friends, what a joy friends are. I think here it's sort of a question in the tone, so probably want to use are at the end. To maybe I misheard it, but to bow or to bow, maybe the word was to bow. I think I heard to bow. Didn't mean that you lost, didn't mean that you had lost. Again, it's a past perfect tense thing. Just think of it this way, that when you're talking about something that has already been completed and you're only referring to it, it's a reference, you would always use the past perfect tense. I went, I had gone. So when you'll use I went, you're describing the action itself. You're not referring to it. So for example, I woke up, I went to the office, blah, blah, blah. But when I'm talking about something else, and I'm only using the action of going to the office as a reference point there, I will say, yeah, I did this, but since I had to go to the office, I blah, blah, blah as well. So here the action itself doesn't fit into the narrative. It's like writing a research paper and you're referring to different writings of other people. So when you refer to an action that's already way completed in the past, you most probably want to use the perfect tense there. He didn't went across. There were a few other ones like this with did. You always follow with an infinitive. So he didn't go across. That's one of the rules. Yeah, English rules of forming simple past tense when you have auxiliary verbs like to do or to have and so on. Yeah. That's it. That's all I have with improvements and good usage. Overall, I think our meeting was very rich with expression, very rich with creativity, a lot of very good usage, a lot of embellishments, I would say. Yeah, artistic ones, very good rhetoric. Back to the general evaluator of the meeting.
Thank you very much, dear grammarian, language evaluator, for that comprehensive report. To summarize, everyone, please take note of your tenses, especially the past perfect tense, and very well explained. Thank you so much. I'd like to call upon our timer of the day. Finally, the time has arrived. Toastmasters Srijita Raj, saying the most enthusiastic timer I have seen in WordWise to date.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a criteria, an area for improvement, but yeah. Most of the proceedings have been according to time. The education session exceeded the time by a certain margin, but I do not think that's something we should be censuring because it was a very rich and very edifying session, and we have learned so much, and those 10 minutes were definitely very well spent. Then coming to the table topic speakers, Toastmaster Mudit, your speech was like you were short of the qualifying time. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. All of the table topic speakers have qualified. By mistake, I considered 1 minute 30 seconds as the qualifying time. So I was making that mistake in my head. When it comes to the less worded speakers, except Toastmaster Latif, all of the speakers have qualified the time limit. And yes, that's what I had. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Srijita. You've been a wonderful, valiant companion, to borrow from Toastmaster Soumaiyya, and really, really worked hard to keep us on track. Thankfully, our general evaluator for the day did not show up, so I get to take over her segment, and so I mentally calculated that it was okay to give a little bit of time extra to our worthy volunteers and to give a little bit less time to myself. To put it bluntly, we started 10 minutes late, and if we had had those 10 minutes, we would have had those 10 minutes to do some gupshup, some chat time with our guests. But no matter, we are still 3 minutes away from the designated time of 2:06 p.m., by which if we can conclude, we can pat ourselves on the back and we can tell our President absentee Toastmaster Cyril, who is away on a literary festival in Jaipur and will have lots of stories on his way back, that we did manage to finally achieve the goal that you had set for us somewhat. And, and we can hold our heads high and proud. Right. Moving on, of course, I think everybody did a wonderful job. Hats off to the role players, the timer, the grammarian, and hats off to DTM Talha, of course, and to all the extempore writers. Thank you for volunteering. I would like to move on to the awards announcement now, because timing was the main thing that I wanted to mention in our general evaluation. So over to our vote counter.
Thank you so much. So today we just had 2 votes. The first one was for the best table topics, and that was won by Toastmaster Mudit Bhandari. Congratulations. And best wordsmith goes to, okay, Toastmaster Aiza Osmani. But next time you're only participating if you do become a member. Too many free awards.
Well noted, and I think we'll go and take that membership card right now. All right, a huge round of applause for our newest kid on the block, the talented Toastmaster Aiza Osmani, and we'll have to snatch her up before anybody else does, because that talent should not go out unseen. Right. Any quick comments? Thank you all for joining us, Toastmaster Samreen. Quick comments, if you please.
Thank you so much for a wonderful meeting once again. I was here only for the educational session, and I thought that I would just attend it and sneak out. And that is the reason that I did not participate in the extempore writing. But then, as always, the meeting has its tentacles, and it just comes and it puts it all around me on my legs and on my arms, and it just won't let me go. So that was again once again a wonderful meeting. And Noor, your writing was best. Aiza, you are a rising and shining star. I am so happy that you are winning these awards, because it's not only that like, we are encouraging you, but also because they are well deserved. You are I just have to see that in a few years what a remarkable writer and a speaker you will become, and very happy that you started your start was from WordWise. And Srijita, we could not hear you speak today because you were very much on the timer role, which is actually a designated role for TBH. So, so today you are the timer, but we missed hearing you speak in table topics or in the extempore writing. So once again, wonderful meeting, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're so glad that you stayed on and you participated in table topics as well. And yeah, we got to put you on the spot, but we know you're a good speaker. Thank you. And yes, DTM Abrar, thank you for joining us. All right, I think he's probably stepped away. Yes, Srijita, any comments on your first time as timer in WordWise?
At WordWise, yeah. So
thank you. Sorry.
It was fun. I loved it, but I realized how very soon after the job began that I was trying to juggle 3 screens at one time, not 3 separate screens, but 3 windows on the same screen, and that was a bit duty heavy for my brain. So, but yeah, it was fun. I really had a good time.
You may want to use the thing that I use for timing.
Yeah, I
have a set of videos. Yeah, and that enables one to do the timing almost automatically and also participate in the meeting. And yeah, yes, there's a bit of screen juggling involved, but only once during a segment. So maybe you all may want to take that.
Sure.
All right, thank you
so much.
We might need an education session on that as well.
I I wholly concur over there. Yesterday, when Srijita and I were discussing her role, and yeah, she was all fired up. She's like, "Yes, I'm gonna go for the challenge," and I'm like, "Okay." I hope I'm not overburdening, but thank you so much. You really lived up to it, and I was watching your red-green cards, and it really helped me keep things on track. Blessings to you. Yeah,
But
and
one thing I'd like to mention is that many of the role players did actually take less time than what was allotted to them, which is positive in a certain way because it like helped us be on track. But again, it's like a gray area, right? You could have taken a little bit more time, but then yeah, so
yeah,
that was one observation that I wanted to mention.
yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Indeed, yes, I did also note that we had to, and yeah, we had to move things
I
along.
think an added difficulty with especially language evaluation in our meetings is so much is going on that I just want to turn off the grammarian for a while and enjoy the speech, and then then I
Yeah.
say, oh no, I must do my duties as well. So, oh, did they just use the wrong tense? I have to make a note, but then I miss a few other sentences they said. So the real challenge, especially with the timer as well, is you're so mesmerized in the speech that, oh wait, it's going over time. I need to
Yeah.
time something with cards. So you have to be this, okay, I'm not affected by any mesmerizing words. I'll just strictly coldly do my job. And you're just constantly fighting between, should I really do my job? Should I enjoy this? Should I do both? So yeah, maybe that's one of the hints behind TM Mehr saying, are you really up for the challenge? Because it's very distracting, very, very distracting.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first learned the role of the timer, when I first picked it up, Toastmaster Akash taught me, and he specifically said this to me. He said, "You will get distracted, but you will not get distracted." And he said this to me, "You will not get." I was like, "Okay." And when I started, doing it, I knew exactly what he was talking about. And then just like Gia, I had the timer, and then I had the Zoom window minimized, and then I had my virtual background window. And I was like, okay, I got to help the volunteers. They shouldn't go over timing even by 1 second. Officially, our meeting is over. If anybody would like to chit chat or have another comment or anything, very welcome. Otherwise, we can wind up.
Perhaps DTM Abrar, if you're there, can we have your comments? If not, what about Toastmaster Lateef?
They're learning all the way, not only from you, from Noor Malik today. Isa also surprised, but yes, that segment is really thought-provoking. It really makes you hit to the ground and then you bounce up, and all that. I think today I will say, going with the interesting table topics, that mind was not able to even write it for myself. I was amazed with how well those topics were selected by our topic master. Last but not the least, it might not take 2 minutes more, DTM Talha, but I wanted to ask you with regards to that session of your education session. Is it okay now or personally?
Yeah, it's okay. I think we've already adjourned the meeting, so.
Yeah. So when we say appropriate, and it's all to judges, and then when you precisely said that we don't talk about those three religiously learned, that we don't have to talk about religious politics and is the speech must be motivational?
Well, that's okay. There was kind of a distraction for me here because I thought you were going to ask about the 3 forbidden topics, and that would have been an easy answer because I would have just said that just listen to all the World Championship speeches. Have you ever heard even one single controversial remark in any one of them ever? Even though Toastmaster allows discussion on these topics, but the World Championship speeches completely avoid them. But then you threw a whammy here that doesn't have to be motivation. Okay, the answer to that is, as per the ballot, not really, right? But in order to win a contest, you have to have a lot of other considerations beyond the ballot. And one of those would be a positive story arc, hero's journey, so to speak. And a hero's journey cannot end like Romeo and Juliet. So there's your answer. In order to leave a positive impression, and also if you look at it holistically and maybe in terms of let's say altruism as well, I think it is our duty to leave the audience with a positive message, to add hope to their life. I think that's a more relevant consideration here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was very, very intelligent answer. Thank you so much. Toastmaster Asghar is back. Yes, Toastmaster Noor, you have a question?
Yeah, I also just wanted to add a bit to what Toastmaster Talha said, that I think it helps make a better impression when you are building this journey, like Toastmaster Talha said it, because whenever you read history, you read poetry, you read literature, the most remarkable ones actually have a very strong journey that they describe. So it's kind of the way humans are, right? It's easier to leave an impact. If you wouldn't do it this way, then it might get way, way too difficult to have something that has similar impact. My question was actually for Toastmaster Asghar, now that you're back, how did you even come up with topics that are so good? I mean, is it just, you would say it's just me, live with it, or is there some technique that others can learn? I'm actually genuinely curious because the table topics today were just remarkable. How did you come up with them? Is it a business?
Well, I mean, it goes against what DTM Tala said earlier. They were all plagiarized, and I have developed a mastery of plagiarizing every good thing from here and there. So, I don't think it's a secret, but thank you very much for appreciating. In other words, it means I should keep doing what I'm doing. So message received.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's not really plagiarism because this is education, right? So I don't go inventing English in an English class. I just bring good use and then let people exercise. So yeah, I wouldn't call it plagiarism. I think it's
more importantly, there is no requirement of originality as far as being a table topics master is concerned. So feel free to plagiarize Toastmasters.
Yeah.
But I would like to add one thing, since it's an informal way. What DTM Tala said was very surprising and new for me when he talked about the originality and by referring the example of Mandela or any other famous person, to drag him into your speech in order to make it dramatized. It's far better. I really, it is something very new and it's very attractive for me. It's far better to take in a story from your neighborhood and make it dramatic in order to convince the audience, rather than talking about Nelson Mandela or someone else.
Yeah, I think also the speech we listened to afterwards was a good point, right? That thing was entirely from himself. There was nothing. So the point is that we all have stuff in our lives that we just need to find the right ways and tools to construct stories around it and then, yeah, make an impact.
Yeah, I also prefer that speech to many others because, of course, I'm not saying by any means that that is the best possible speech, but it does something very admirable. It avoids the usual tropes that Toastmaster contest speeches have. It avoids over dramatification. Oh, sorry, Noor, over dramatization, and it avoids the three Ds: death, divorce, and disease. It remains cheerful from start to finish, which is something very odd, by the way. It does not present a conflict that is life-threatening at all. Think about it, how extraordinary that is to have won a speech contest while doing essentially what is a humor speech with a very strong life lesson embedded in it, but at the same time, it doesn't come at the expense of the usual tropes that we see in Toastmasters speeches. So that's why I admire that speech a lot. It creates something very new, and that's even rarer today, unfortunately. Like if you look at even World Championship speeches, at one point they fall into the predictable pattern. And speaking about the likes of Nelson Mandela or Elon Musk or people like that, um, In addition to risking non-originality, although of course, if you just mentioned any of them as examples, that will not disqualify your speech, but it will make your speech predictable. Think about that for a second. The minute you utter that name, that means that the audience will know what's coming next. And that will also mean that the speech has a slightly lesser chance of leaving an impression on the judge's mind versus if it did have something else.
Absolutely. I think that word that you use, predictability, and having that X factor, trying to have that X factor, that's really what sets the speeches apart. Really, really pertinent point. Speaking to what Noor was saying, one of the quotes that I was wanting to deliver in my transitions but held back due to the timing was by Dale Carnegie. Live an active life among people who are doing worthwhile things. Keep eyes and ears and mind and heart open to absorb truth, and then tell of the things you know as if you know them. The world will listen, for the world loves nothing so much as real life. So he is absolutely validated, in fact. I mean, he's the greatest of the great, a writer of the art of public speaking. What DTM Talha was saying, go for your personal story. He was repeating it over and over. Go for your personal story, and it will be unique. It will be original, and it will be something that you are passionate about because it's coming from your life. It's something you went through. You can feel those feelings. We cannot really feel the feelings of something someone else has gone through. That's their lesson. And even though events might be similar, we might be having similar emotions. Like there are basically 6 different emotions: happiness, sadness, anger, excitement. Then there's guilt, fear. Thank you so much. So if we cover the gamut of this, have I pronounced it rightly? No, gamut, is it? So if we cover the gamut of these emotions, I think we've taken the audience on that emotional journey, the roller coaster. And it's really about casting a spell. You know, you cast the spell on the audience and you take them with you and you take them somewhere else while they're sitting there. Right. Toastmaster Asghar's comment. Toastmaster Asghar, now that you're back, thank you so much for, and we will save the rest of your topics for the next meeting. I just wanted to make one suggestion that to repeat the topic twice, like so that the volunteers, they can hear it out. Like repeat the topic twice and then take the name of the speaker again. That will help them remember what you said. But thank you so much for putting it in the chat as well. Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You know, like वो जो उर्दू में होती है ना, तो थोड़ा जो उर्दू का एक तंज होता है ना, उसका अपना जो फ्लेवर है, वो मुझे आपके टॉपिक्स में फील हो रहा था. There's a different flavor of humor in Urdu, right?
It has a huge disadvantage because I'm always speaking English in Urdu, you know, medium, and you know it's taking everything away. And this is, I think, one of my flaw when it comes to speaking in English. I always talk, you know, I translate Urdu in my English, and that's something I think I go beyond or degrade myself.
I think Toastmaster still would have like a million things to say to you. Yes, Toastmaster Gia.
The point that I have here is, Toastmaster Asghar, I don't see it as a weakness, is because
thank you.
One, what we bring to the table from our language actually adds to the language that we're speaking. Because when you translate your Urdu to English, it gives us so much more than what normal English would have given us, right? Like the topics that you had were so good, like the humor, the irony, everything was so on point. Like, for example, one person that comes to my mind, Sudha Murthy, she is a native speaker of Kannada and she writes in English. Now, every time she's in an interview, she says that I think in Kannada, but I write in English. But it doesn't actually hamper what she writes because it, one, simplifies everything that she wants to say, and it gives it so much more essence or like emotion or meaning because there's like an extra filter to cross, right?
I think Toastmasters, your worldview and your life just changed. Because mine did. Because I always saw that as a disadvantage. of
No,
thinking.
no.
And you know one thing,
Related
I
to-
had in my mind one sentence in table topic session, and I wanted to put it for Sajita, but unfortunately I was not allowed to allow that topic, so I
What was
want
that
that
sentence?
topic to the secret.
What was that sentence?
Want to keep it now in guessing.
Okay, next time around, maybe. But Toastmasters as well. I just read your comment about Poolan Devi, and I think it would be very offensive, very traumatic, very tragic to Poolan Devi if you compare your mother-in-law to her. So no, please don't do that.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for offending Pauline Devi. I totally agree. I'm ashamed of what I've written. I want to take it down. I totally agree.
Be
Sorry
careful
for
next time.
sorry.
I thought you were going to say that, like it's an extreme example, but then you just turned it.
No, I know far more about Toastmasters' mother-in-law that I'd ever care to and to even desire. Thank
Actually,
you.
I always try to make her as respectable as possible. So this is what I could have done.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God.
This is the most classic example of a distraction, ladies and gentlemen, that was mentioned at the start of the speech.
Yeah.
Could not get a better example.
Also, this is like a masterclass of sarcasm.
Yeah.
I think Toastmaster Asghar
For
personifies.
as respectable as possible! Exclamation mark.
Oh God. Oh gosh. Welcome, Toastmaster Anam. We were having our gupshup and I think we should it's been such a lovely Sunday afternoon, honestly. Just want to go on. But yeah, I think lunch calls us for many of us, and parents in some cases, children in other cases, spouses in some other cases, and mother-in-laws lurking in the background in other in other houses. So we must beg leave and do the very best for all of you contesting in the international speech contest. We have ours this Saturday on the 8th of February. Do join in, and we're looking forward. If you have any question lingering or you come up with anything, please share it on the inner circle. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Are
you.
we finally ready to leave?
Yes,
Okay.
I guess so. So all
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Allah.
Allah Hafiz.